What's up, it's Marco, Sage of Soccer Day, and we talk about some post-match takeaways after those friendlies we had. It was two friendlies against some high-level competition, probably World Cup level competition. Morocco, probably going to be as good as Iran, Uruguay, somewhere in between Wales and England. So we have some good games against high-level competition that we can look at, and we have a couple positives and a lot that we learned about this squad. So we're going to start with the positives, because we did win a game and draw a game, so there are definitely some good there. I think the first thing is that Tim Weah looks undroppable. I mean, coming into this World Cup cycle, I was not sold on him, but man, he just has been on fire ever since that Panama game. Like, in the Costa Rica game, he had an amazing performance and has not looked back since. Even at club level, he started to look good at Lille in the last few games. So right now, just in a crazy form for the national team, things are really starting to come together with him, and you can't drop him from this team. Even if Gio comes back, you got to put him in the midfield, or maybe we try Tim Weah up top. I mean, I know it's not his preferred position, but we've got a lot of issues there, and sometimes you have to make sacrifices. I mean, Brenden Aaronson is not naturally an 8 or a wing. He's more of a 10, but he's done really well out of position. Maybe Tim Weah could do really well out of position. I know it's not natural for him. Well, might not be, but we should give it a shot because we have to. And Tim Weah, he needs to be in this team. He has looked really good throughout just for so long, and he's done against high-level competition now. Next is Brenden Aaronson. He looked really good at the 8. I mentioned him before, and he's transitioned that position very well. More of a natural 10. He's been doing very well on the wing, and he's just adding to a pretty good midfield that we have right now. It's good for our versatility to have another player who can play in that position, and right now I feel really good about our center midfielders, like our 8s, I should say. Our wings are really solid as well, and those are two positions that are just locked in for us. And another positive is we've got an actual selection crisis, and it's a good one. I love it when we can actually debate, really talented players and say who should be in the squad. Because it's not just okay, we need Robinson in this team because he's the only player who can possibly be a solid right back or left back for us. It's actually okay, who fits best between Adams, Musa, and McKinney? Do we have one of them go out of the team? Maybe we try Brenden Aaronson, get a lot of energy in this team. Maybe drop Gio Reyna into the field. Luca De La Torre looked pretty good at the 6 in that one time he played there. Maybe we try that out some more. It's an actual conversation we can have about fit, about athleticism, creativity, defensive work rate. It's not just we only have one option, so they have to be in this team. It's a great problem to have, and I love being able to talk about that. And talk about this midfield is going to be really fun in the future, and I love it when we get to have good debates. But that's about it for the positives, and now we're going to the bad debates. Up top, the striker position. Jesús Ferreira, I don't think he's good enough to play a 9. He's in the form of his life right now, and the finishing just isn't there. I really don't care that he's good with his feet and has good movement, because if we want someone good with his feet, we just stick Gio Reyna up there. We just stick Brenden Aaronson up there. We just stick Josh Sargent up there. And it is what it is right now. He isn't good enough to play a striker for this team. I think this is the first time he actually earned a call-up. He's in great form for the MLS, and he had to give it a try, but I feel like this is the first time he really warranted getting called into the team. But, yeah, and speaking of Tim Weah at the 9, I don't think Jesús Ferreira's natural position is striker. I think he's better at that 10, that secondary striker right behind the guy up top. So I don't get why we are so hesitant of trying Tim Weah up top. I mean, I get it because he looks so good on the wing, but him not being natural isn't a good argument in my opinion. And striker, it's a really big problem for us right now. Haji Wright hasn't exactly lit the world on fire, and I don't really care how well he'll do against the Nations League teams. I really don't know who we're playing because it doesn't mean anything. It's games against bad levels of competition and teams that had no chance of qualifying for the World Cup. So it really doesn't matter. We'd win both these games with an MLS-only team, or MLS-only team plus, a creative midfielder and a good striker. But, it's not a high level of competition. So, next we got the fullback position, and fullback is weirdly a big issue for us. I understood, that left back would be a problem, but, man, right back is looking a lot weaker than I thought it would, because I remember going back, a year, and I was just okay, we got Serginho Dest, Reggie Cannon's on the come up. We got Brian Reynolds. DeAndre Yedlin's still there. I think it was even before I really was high on Joe Scally, and it just seemed like we had so many options, and now it's, okay, Dest is really good, and then it's kind of murky. It's really weird. For our fullbacks, Joe Scally did not look good at left back. It's okay to admit that. He's 19 and he will get better, but at the moment, I don't want to see him going up against Raheem Sterling or a Mason Mount or a Daniel James, Brennan Johnson, Gareth Bale, Jahanbakhsh from Iran. That's not going to turn out well, and it's okay to say that. I think Dest is still the backup left back, and man, it's kind of weird how critical people can be of young fullbacks. Because Scally was not good, but he's 19. I watched Trent Alexander-Arnold, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, even Serginho Dest on the national team get passes for trash performances, and we had Scally and Robinson get destroyed here. I remember back in early 2017, Trent was getting torn up by Anthony Martial, and okay, we know how good he was going to be, but at that time, he still should have been behind Nathaniel Klein. It was obviously to see what was coming, but he wasn't good enough then, and Joe Scally's not good enough now. Although he is probably still our best backup option at left back if we want to go for a traditional back four. George Bello has been worse, and Sam Vines is really nothing special. DeJuan Jones is too far away from this team, and we just don't have left-footed players. Honestly, I don't think Jedi Robinson would be in the starting conversation for this national team if he was right-footed either. But, yeah, it's just a really bad situation at fullback. And speaking of, we have DeAndre Yedlin, who was garbage. This guy's not a good soccer player. Dude, I'll be honest, forget being a pro. I don't know if he gets a college scholarship if you had a half second to his 40-yard dash time. We need to have him never on this field again, and I want to keep him away from the young players on this team, because he is what you fear when you go to Europe. He took a bad move, then never developed, and he squandered his potential because he could have been a really good player. I was so high on him in the 2014 World Cup, and it's just really disappointing to see. I think Reggie Cannon is our only serviceable backup right now, which I wasn't really impressed with him. At least he has athleticism and he's actually a player. I think he's more of a defensive-minded player, but probably not even that good building the ball at the back. But at least he's is a soccer player. DeJuan Jones probably should have been given a call up earlier, but I don't think he does any better. It's unfair that he hasn't gotten a look, but listen, if Berhalter's not calling up an MLS guy, there's probably a reason. Like with George Milhalovic, do I think he should have gotten a shot? Yeah, but I'm not losing sleep over it. Honestly, when I look at our fullback situation, I think it's time to experiment with a back three, because it's surprisingly easy for players to transfer to wingback, or there's a surprising high amount who are capable of it. I've seen Victor Moses, Perisic do that with no inkling that they would be able to do that. I've been saying for a little bit that I think Luca De La Torre would work as a left wingback. It sounds stupid, but I think we could give it a shot. He's probably our best left-footed player, so I want to see it happen. I think he's got the pace for it. I like him building the ball at the back. Again, it's a really weird idea, and like Tim Weah playing striker, we wouldn't even be having this conversation if we had a competent player in that position, but we don't, so we do need to have this conversation. And speaking of, now we're going to center back, and Aaron Long wasn't good. I've rewatched that game. He wasn't good. He was giving up a lot of chances, making a lot of bad mistakes, and I really wasn't impressed by him. I think he's lost a step of pace, which obviously he's coming off a huge injury, and I don't think he's good enough for this team, which is just me being honest. But however, Erik Palmer-Brown did not look good enough in that situation. I think he needs to be in a back three, which is something that we can take note of, but at the same time, James Sands did very well in a back three. So I'm not too high on Erik Palmer-Brown. I think both Erik Palmer-Brown and Aaron Long were kind of exposed that they just can't go up to a higher level of competition in that situation. I would really like to see Mark McKenzie back in this team. I know that, similar to Reggie Cannon, he gets a lot of stick, but okay, the problem with Mark McKenzie is he getting called up when he didn't deserve to. I think that now he was playing enough at Genk that I would be good with calling him up. And he is a not left-footed, but can play that left-sided center back role. And I think he'd be good enough in this team. I would love to see him back in September. Chris Richards needs to walk back into the starting lineup, and I was actually pretty impressed by Cameron Carter-Vickers, and I think he should start our next 2 games. Like, the one bad play he had was he lost somebody on a header. Aaron Long did the same thing. Like literally the same exact thing. I think that we should give Cameron Carter-Vickers and Walker Zimmerman the next 2 starts, and honestly, John Brooks needs to be back in the team. Like, I've been watching Walker Zimmerman, and honestly, I'd be fine with him as our 4th center back, but dude, he makes a lot of mistakes. He's gotten better at his passing when given time, which that is an improvement, because against Jamaica away from home, he was given a lot of time and he just kept giving the ball away. So it's good to see that he's gotten better with time. He's gotten better at picking out passes, but man, he still makes a lot of mistakes when he's under pressure. He's honestly just a worse version of John Brooks in every way. Aerially, pace, ability on the ball, defensive positioning. I take John Brooks over him in everything. And honestly, even if he's a locker room cancer, which I don't think he is, I think it's worth it to have Brooks back in the team. Okay, that's my opinion on our center backs. Sean Johnson, I should have listed Sean Johnson as a positive. He made some good saves. But I think he made a couple of mistakes with his feet that would make me never even consider him over Matt Turner. And I still want Ethan Horvath as our backup. Not even number 2 on the depth chart. Just I want him as the backup because he's proven capable of coming into games and doing well while ice cold. And that is not something that's easy to do. That is a real achievement that Ethan Horvath has, or a real talent. So even if he's 3rd on the depth chart, even if he's 4th on the depth chart, I want him in this team as a backup keeper. And I really can't see Sean Johnson getting in over Stefan. But, he did well with his opportunity, and that's all you really can do. And I've said it before with Sean Johnson, it's kind of bad for him because his opportunity to get a spot on this team is completely out of his hands. If Horvath is starting, if Stefan is starting, if Turner is starting, he's not going to be in no matter how well he's doing. Then I think in the midfield, I was... Weston McKennie, he isn't back from injury yet, but I really want to see this midfield battle, how that's going to turn out. There really wasn't any negatives in the midfield, so I'm kind of already talked about it, but man, it's going to be fun to watch Gio back in this team. I really hope we chime out in the midfield, so that's going to be fun. Wing, Pulisic, I thought he was looking good. I thought Tim Weah, he was obviously amazing. Paul Arriola, he just needs to be away from this team. I will say now, he won't do anything positive against the World Cup level opponent. He's just not physically good enough, and he's not technically good enough. And I really don't think that pressing means anything when we get the same thing out of Josh Sargent and we get the same thing out of Brenden Aaronson. And honestly, after this last performance and the last few performances with the national team, I would feel better having Josh Sargent in this team than Paul Arriola. Even, if anything else, than just that we can put Josh Sargent up top and have another option there. And then Haji Wright, I don't think he really impressed. He looked pretty good with his feet, put away a penalty. He didn't get involved at all against Uruguay, which is a problem with our strikers. I think more a problem with our system. But I'd give him 2 starts, even if against bad opposition, see what he can do. But yeah, that's all I really have for this. Defense, I think, is a huge issue for us. But man, our midfield striker as well. But man, our midfield looks very strong. Our wingers look really good. Goalkeeper situation getting better by the day. There's a lot of positives in this team. And hey, we're Matthew Hoppe and Daryl DK staying healthy away from a really good team. We're John Brooks getting back into the squad away from looking really good. John Brooks gets back in the team. Chris Richards look really healthy. Serginho Dest gets back to 100%. That's a really good team if we have all that. That's a team that I'm looking at Group A. I think that's a group of death, to be honest, because Qatar's going to be playing with 12 men. But, like, we could get out of our group, and then realistically get into the quarterfinals. Like, I could see that happening with, like, a really good team, like our team at our best. But right now, we're not at our best. And I think it's naive to think that we'd come into the World Cup fully healthy. But, hey, we got a lot of positives to take away from this. And, hey, we get to beat up on some random Concacaf teams in the next few games. Like, sorry if that seems arrogant, but I would really like us to combine with the South American Federation so we can actually get some decent games during World Cup qualifying. But that's all I have to talk about right now. Going to be fun to watch these next few games, and yeah, I'll see you.